Welcome everyone, it's Glacier Guy, rocking the Glacier as always. We're here for a studio update. It's the 31st of July, and yeah, we're going to get into some terrain I've had printed. We haven't painted it yet. We've painted a couple things, but these are older. But we got some new terrain, got a new battle mat, and got some models that I've been working on, and one that I put in for a competition. I didn't win, but I did put it in for a competition. And it's always interesting to, put things in for competition and then see, your opponents, see who won, and then kind of try to adjust from there. But yeah, let's flip it around and we'll get into it. All right, we're gonna do a nice little panning shot of all of the different terrain pieces. So all of these pieces were 3D printed on my FDM printer. They're all printed on a 0.2, which is like a draft quality. And they were printed, most of them were printed with 15% infill. Some of them I accidentally printed with 20% infill, which took a little bit longer. But yeah. And I painted the craters up last time, and I have a bunch of ice spires, and I have a bunch of volcanoes. So you can zoom in. This one in the center is actually 4 different pieces. And that is because he is a large fella. He's a big model, and I couldn't print him all in one piece. Some of these models are from the printer, from the model creator, which is TXARLI, so Tarly or Tazarly, something around there. I got them off My Mini Factory. Wasn't sponsored. They didn't. Yeah, wasn't sponsored at all. They don't know. They probably don't know I exist. But so I printed them from. I bought them from there. Printed them off, and yeah, they already come pre-done with some magnet holes if I want to magnetize those 4 pieces. I haven't decided if I want to magnetize them or glue them together. I did notice that on the 4 pieces they don't line up super perfectly, so I'm gonna have to make a decision. Because I think if I magnetize them, they won't line up perfectly, but I think if I glue them, I can have them line up perfectly, and then any gaps I can fill in. And I have plenty of room if I do glue them together, so probably I will glue them together. But yeah, so we got a huge big volcano. All of this is kind of more line of sight blocking and what do they call it? Impassable terrain, something like that. And not a whole lot of like area cover terrain. So I was thinking this was more akin for Age of Sigmar, but I still would like to play a 40k game on this board. I do have other like buildings and ruins that I can intermingle into this terrain. And the next, I don't have any current plans right now to do any more terrain creation, any more terrain printing. At least not for the foreseeable future. I do want to get these painted here in the next few months, and then have the next game be on this table, on this battle mat. As far as additional buildings and taller skyscrapers and things like that, I have to find a probably an STL file creator that is akin to what I want it to look like. And so far I haven't found, like the ruins that I did get that you've seen in the previous battle reports and previous episodes, like these ones. So like these ruins right here, they're really cool, but they max out at 3 stories and it's only like a little bit on the 3rd story. And these are also where all done with my FDM printer. But the thing that I want a little bit more verticality, and I want a little bit larger in size. And I was trying to find an STL file where I could go to like 4 stories. I think that'd be kind of cool. Still, I do kind of like the spires. So if any of you have any recommendations, leave a comment below as to like where you've seen some. I've seen a few. And then I've also seen a cyberpunk city from, I forget the name of that one. But I saw it on My Mini Factory, so I might grab that one. But it's a little pricey for that one, so we'll have to figure it out. And yeah, so that's all the terrain that I've been working on. I haven't painted it. My plan, though, especially for the ice spires, is to do I'm probably going to prime all these black, just because that's the easiest primer to work with in my climate. If I use a white primer, I do know that if you use white primers, you want to kind of warm them up first before you spray. But I've noticed that at least here, I've never had any problems with black primers. So probably stick with black primer and then airbrush on a icy blue over the black, and then do a dry brush of like a white, and then just make it kind of look like blue with white under it. It's kind of what I was thinking. The volcanoes, probably going to go with an icy mountain feel for the volcanoes, except for right where the lava is, and then just do traditional lava. So I think that these will be pretty fun to paint, and I think, yeah, I think they'll work out pretty well. So let us readjust the camera, and we'll zoom in on these few models that you see in front of you. All right, so right now what you're seeing in front of you is a kind of a sampler platter of different Space Wolf models that I pulled out of the collection because I wanted to paint a bunch of different Space Wolf models and kind of see how I was going to paint them and what I was going to do with the color scheme. And I identified something interesting because I should have picked one of the aggressors instead of two of the Terminators. Because when I was going through the color scheme, it's mostly like a brown, like an earthish color scheme. Let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. So it's really a brownish bone white color scheme where instead of metals instead of like coppers and golds and stuff, I used a lot of bone color. I still use some silver. I did use some golds, but I tried to keep it sparing and try to make most of where there would be gold. I made it mostly like bone and ivory. But on the shoulder pads, I wanted to keep the color scheme very Space Wolf traditional, and I went with the yellow shoulder pads, and then the left, was it the left? No, the right shoulder pad of each of the different Marines, based upon what they're like, whether or not they're a Fang pack, or Hunter pack, or a Long Fang pack. They have either yellow, reds, or white, and the aggressors, I believe, are considered to be a Long Fang pack. And the Wolf Guard are obvious, or the Grey Hunter is obviously considered a Hunter pack, which is why they're red. But interesting enough, the Close Combat Terminators and the regular Terminators are actually considered to be Hunter packs? No, not Hunter packs. Fang packs? I think Fang packs is what they call them. Hold on, I gotta go grab the rulebook. All right, I found it. So right here on page 31 in the current rulebook, you got Hunter packs are red, Fang packs are white, and Claw packs are yellow. So when looking at the different pictures in the rulebook, it seems like at least the Terminators definitely look like they are Claw packs, which is fine with me. And so most of the models ended up being Claw packs because you got your Blood Claws right here, you got your Assault Intercessors, and yeah. So, and then you got your Grey Hunters. And I think it turns out really well. The whole idea behind going with bone instead of blue was or instead of the bluish gray, is wolves are not always a gray in the winter or in like warmer climates. And I wanted this whole army to be kind of, what if a Space Wolf army was dropped on a desert planet and they had to fight a long, protracted desert campaign, hence the red soil. And I was like, well, they could probably, they might want to tan up their armor. And so I kind of went with a Space Wolf company that is always fighting on a desert planet. And so they ditch their blue armor and go with more of a tannish bone armor, and they start adopting this kind of a bonish color scheme. And I think it works out pretty well. And yeah. And then panning over, we have a 5 doggo unit. Let me 1 second reset. Yeah, we got a 5 unit of Fenrizine wolves, and we went with 3 of them have more of a brown base coat. One of them has more of a white, kind of a lightish gray, and then we have this one right here that's a little bit more blackish. These were done very quickly with the airbrush and then dry brushing and just kind of just throwing it all on there. I have ordered another set of 5, and I ordered a Cyberwolf. I don't know if I'm going to use the Cyberwolf, but I do have a slot in this army for 10 Fenrizine wolves because they're just good boys. And yeah, so we'll move those over just so we don't have to reset the camera. Move those over real quick. And then right here is a special model. I got this model off of, let's try to get him a little closer, see if I can get, there we go. I got him off of One Page Rules. This was part of their July release. And yeah, he's their kind of... They're doing a whole set of demons. Once again, not sponsored, but they're doing a whole set of different demons from like the classic 4 Chaos Gods that are kind of in Warhammer adjacent. So they're going with Khorne. They have them different. It's like War, Lust. I forget all the names that they're officially using, but essentially it's just like proxies for normal Chaos models. But yeah, he is my Demon Prince. I mean, I'm using my World Use army. I went with more of a traditional color scheme instead of my normal Demon Prince army, and I really wanted to go with the orange wings, and I think the model stands out really well. I did submit him into a painting competition. Interesting enough, I think I printed and finished painting him very quickly into the beginning of the month, in the beginning of July, and a lot of the other entries with this model in particular had orange wings, which I was like, ooh, did I inspire orange wings, orange weapons? Because a lot of them had orange wings and orange weapons. But then there's a lot of like that in the normal kind of Cornish demon models in this kind of color scheme. But I'm going to be using him as my Demon Prince, and he's pretty sweet. We've got the Malefic Talons and the Axe, and I think he's going to do really well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been working on the Atlantean Spears, assembling them. Oh, I don't have any. I have pictures, so we'll throw some pictures up here for a little bit. But I'm going to sit down and explain this. So 1 second while I move the camera. All right, so we looked at the map, we looked at the table, we looked at the terrain, and hopefully it's going to turn out really well when I do end up painting it. And we looked at some of the models I've been working on. And let's talk about something else I was working on. So I don't have the two models with me, but I have some pictures of the models, so we'll throw the pictures up here on the screen. But I spent a lot of time on different Discords, and one of the Discords I was on is Tabletop Titans, and I'm a channel member, and I really enjoy the content. I enjoy the banter and the memes, everything back and forth. And I don't necessarily watch the full other battle reports. I like to watch the beginnings of the battle reports. If I'm painting or doing hobby and I don't have any other videos to listen to, I'll just leave them up. But I really like their Q&A section. And I like when they get to talk about back and forth and analyze it post-game, so that's really fun. But since I mostly focus on modeling, hobbying, and open war, I don't really play matched play or Tempest War or whatever they play, so I do enjoy their content. But anyway, so I'm on the Discord, and I'm like, oh, hey, I just ordered some models for my Atlantean Spears, and I posted like a little picture of like them on their way, and they had a Redemptor Dreadnought and an Impulsor for my Atlantean Spears. Which, if you don't know, are a successor chapter for Blood Angels. But either way, one of the members in the channel or in the Discord made a Photoshop of an Impulsor with the legs of a Redemptor, and I was just like, huh, well, that's kind of funny, very Metal Gear Solid-ish. And I looked at it, and the more I looked at it, I was like, well, I am getting the models tomorrow. I got to do this, and so I did. As you'll see here in the pictures, I put legs on an Impulsor, and I took the anti-grab plates off. And then I took the Dreadnought, made the top body of the Dreadnought, and then on the bottom, I was trying to get like a grab Dreadnought, but I wanted to maintain the same height of a Dreadnought, so people weren't considering I was like trying to model for advantage. Because obviously the Impulsor is now taller than it should be, so that's fine. But the Dreadnought would be shorter if I just put like some grab plates on the bottom and it was just like a short little Dreadnought. So I didn't want that, so I ended up putting it on. I found a bunch of bits box, and I took the bits from a Torox and some plastic card and a couple other random bits, and because I used wheels on my Torox, I didn't use the track parts, but I ended up making a Segway Johnny 5 version of a Redemptor Dreadnought base. I used an extra Baneblade Demolisher cannon for like the swivel part, because it was the only thing that I could find that was ball and joint. I probably could have made one, but I ended up using that and made like this weird crazy monstrosity of a Dreadnought that you see right on the screen. And right after I made it, I posted on like different Facebook groups and even in the Discords, and I was like, yeah, I did make these on a dare, on a meme, and I hate them. Like I don't want to paint these as Atlantean Spears. I don't want my army, which the rest of it is going to look really nice and very, you know, Codex-esque, I'm trying to match a color scheme that's actually in the rule book. I kind of want to use the models, and I didn't want to do anything super custom with this army. I wanted it to be like, it would be something that you would see at a Games Workshop, because most of my armies are very custom. Most of my armies have different paint schemes, different model ranges, and they don't always follow the typical color schemes. Like my former Blood Angels army was silver. It had a mix of Firstborn and Primaris, and was all over the place. It wasn't very cohesive, which is why I sold it off. But this new one, I wanted to be very by the numbers, very like rule book. Like you could open up a rule book and go, oh, this looks really nice. And so I was like, we can't do that with these like hodgepodge models thrown together. So I posted, and a lot of the reactions were, well, you can take them apart, you freeze it, and I had used a mix of super glue and plastic cement, because I typically will use plastic cement a lot of my models over super glue. I like the way it bonds, and I just prefer it, especially for plastic models, over super glue. But if I'm using metal parts, if I'm pinning, I will super glue them. But I ended up, I ended up building it, and then a lot of recommendations were just to take it apart, but the way I built it, it would have looked really, some of the parts would have looked weird if I'd remade them into the original Dreadnought or Redemptor. I mean, the Dreadnought probably would have been fine because I would have just been able to pop it off. But the Impulsor itself, a lot of stuff was done to the Impulsor to like cover the grab plates with plastic card and things like that. So I was just like, nah, it's fine. I'll leave them as is. And then one of the recommendations was, hey, what about Titan Watch? And so if you don't know, Titan Watch is a community-built Deathwatch army for Tabletop Titans for their channel. Basically, they were looking for another army, and one of the Discord, one of the channel members, I think he's a mod now, or I'm not 100% sure, but one of the community within Tabletop Titans was like, let's make a Deathwatch army, and everyone will make a squad or a model or a unit, and we'll send it in, and then whenever they play Deathwatch, they'll be using the models that we made, which I think is kind of cool. I think it is a community effort. Some people disagree, but either way. Anyways, I actually like it. And so when I was looking at two models, they were like, hey, set them in for Titan Watch. And it was just a recommendation. It wasn't like a requirement. But I was like, well, I don't want them on the table. And I had immediately ordered replacements. And I was just like, and I kind of didn't want to throw them away. And so, yeah, I painted them up, as you see in the pictures, as Titan Watch. And the idea is they wanted the purple shoulder pad for like the Titan Watch symbol. So I painted both of them up for Titan Watch, and I shipped them off yesterday. And so I don't know exactly when they're gonna get there. Supposedly gonna get there on Wednesday, but I don't know when they're gonna like get the box and open it and everything. So maybe if you're also a Titan Watch, or if you're also a Tabletop Titans member, you might see it in one of their Q&As if they do mail time. You might see it, you might not see it. I don't know. I hope we can see it on the channel, but if not, you know, that's just how it all works out. But that is where those went, because I just didn't want to keep them around. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Been hearing a little bit of rumors about 10th edition, nothing concrete. I kind of hope 10th edition is very similar to, was it 8th edition? So I think it was, because 6th edition lasted for a while. 7th was very quick, if I remember correctly. And then 8th edition came out with the indexes right from the beginning. It was like a big reset for every army. And I was kind of hoping that, well, a little bit not, because we still don't have an Imperial Guard rulebook. We've been using the same 8th edition Imperial Guard rulebook the whole way through 9th edition. And it's coming. We can see the rumors and the feelers. But it would be really, really lame to get a Guardsman rulebook and then less than a year later, 10th edition drops and they reset everything again. That's one of the main reasons why I haven't bought the Imperial Armor Compendium. I do have Forge World models in my collection, and I haven't bought the Imperial Armor Compendium because we're so far into 9th that 10th is around the corner, and I don't want to drop $85 on the Imperial Armor Compendium. Only for a year or less from now it to be obsolete. So it's just kind of like a little bit of wait and see, trying not to spend too much money on things, and just trying to focus on small projects, and then obviously paint the models that I already have built. But yeah, so that has been my studio update. Hope you guys having a great one, and yeah, see you around. Goodbye.